Welcome, FlipoClock fans. We're looking at a pretty little Sunbeam here in FlipoClock Fans Studios. This clock is the Sunbeam DT2. It's in what they would call avocado green. Nice little gold trim. This model clock in the probably what they would call the Harvest Gold, the yellow version of this clock, appeared in the movie Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1978. Now that film had some famous actors of the day: Donald Sutherland, Leonard Nimoy, Jeff Goldblum, among others. The clock appeared on the nightstand of one of the main characters. So what are we going to do with this clock? We're going to take a look at it. When I got exposed to it, I found out that the alarms does not work. We can see that the alarm wheel moves, but when you try to adjust the time, it's not working. So we're going to take a look at this. We do have a working neon bulb. We're going to see if we can fix this clock. We've not had it open yet. We'll take a look and see. So this is going to be the mechanism screws, and the way to get in would be here. The clock looks to be in good shape physically, but we've got some major issues in there. Most likely the time set problem would be due to somebody manhandling or turning the clock the wrong way. Well, let's just see if this motor will get started. And it did. I'm glad to see it looks like a copal, and the motor wasn't working earlier. And as you saw, just by kind of getting it kick-started there, it got it going. So, see how stiff that is? As you know, if you've seen other of my videos, if you stop one of these, it should restart rapidly and right away. So it just needs to be lubricated. That's great news. Now, as far as the time advancement, we've got to get in there and find out what's going on. That's plastic. Oh, it's one of those. So it's got these metal bands here, and you just kind of release them. It reminds me of the Copal 700 series. Oh, it's wrong. It felt like plastic, and it was just jangling up against this glass. You gotta love that. You see, that's going to be able to clean up very easy. See how dirty that is? That's great. Clean up with no scratches. Neon bulb is pristine. It's amazing to me, and it's surprising that sometimes the bulbs do not get blackened. Now, what's going on here? So what's going on here with this thing is that these clocks will have a situation where they will sound and then they will not sound for a while. So this is, I've had people, there's a wheel there, and as time progresses here, that wheel will advance and eventually allow that to sound. So it'll sound for a little while, go off, sound again, sort of like a automatic sleep function. And a lot of people assume that the alarm's not working when that time has to advance. So our time advancement is not happening right now. And we're jammed up, and I don't know why yet. We're going to have to take things apart here and see if we can't figure that out. See that notch? So it looks like it's going to sound every sound for 10 seconds go off, but you can see that notch cut out there. So that's exactly what I was talking about. As time passes, it'll sound again and go off, sound again until you push the alarm thing down. Okay, so that's good, but we just have to get in here and figure out why this is jamming. You can see the hour hold back here is loose, and this is supposed to be inside of here, so that can be fixed. That's another sign that somebody's forced this. Sometimes that gets pushed out of the way, so I think we can fix that. I have to start disassembling here. We'll lubricate this. Definitely a Copal 2 motor, which is awesome. That's going to lubricate just fine. You'll see later. And how you lubricate, and a lot of you folks probably know this. You just take a lubricant and you're going to drop it down one of these holes. It doesn't matter where. And then that will drop down till it gets to this area. And then I like to work it in like so, just a little bit. And then with time, that's going to work in there. So often I'll get it going if it's working at all and just let it run for a while. So what I've got to do is I've got to get into this a little bit better and see if I can't see what's blocking this from advancing. So what did I find out? And I should have known this just looking at it. This is a Copal clock. It is a Copal knockoff. And I should have recognized that. It reminded me of the 701, but it's not the 701. It's the 703. So I haven't seen a 7. So I should have known with the clips here, the glass. It's a Copal 703 clone. Just basically rebranded the Sunbeam. And they did that with the Copal 101. You'll see those online. Real pretty clocks, the Sunbeams. Those are Copal 101s. So this is going to fix up okay. So what did I find out is, and you might have seen me several times when I was looking at this clock, I kept pushing it like this. Oh, we got a missing tile. You see that? Yep, we're missing the bottom of the 26. And there's no telling where, oh, nope, no telling where that went. It's amazing to me, they disappear. But anyway, I was pushing on this. So what's supposed to happen when the motor's engaged here? When the motor's engaged, it would block this wheel from moving. And as you see, when the motor's moving the clock, it's going to move this wheel right here. Something that some people don't know is when you're assessing a motor, this should not turn. If you can turn this gear, the gearbox is messed up. This should not turn. So when this is stuck onto the motor and you try to advance the clock, this right here is called a slip clutch. And it is not slipping. It's supposed to, so if I hold this and I push, that's supposed to slip. So I'm hopeful that it just needs to be lubricated, and that's supposed to slip. You see that tension there holds up against the wheel. That's very much like a mechanical clock that's not a flip clock. Some of the newer, later Copals use what I call a ratcheting slip clutch. So what's going on? Why wasn't this working? And I believe what happened was the slip clutch got frozen, and then the person kept trying to force it. So what do you think happened over there? You get to a place where it stops. Because what they've done by trying to force it is they've chewed up the gear. So once it stops, I get it past that point, and it goes again until it gets to that place again. So the clock would probably function. You're just not going to be able to advance time when you get to a certain place. Right there. I would have to try to find a gear to replace that, or fix the gear. Add it maybe with epoxy. That would be interesting. See if I could do that. But now we've got a clock. We know a lot more about it. We know that it's missing digits. And I might have a comparable clock in storage somewhere where I could get that digit. Now this thing here, when you see that moving like that, often people online say the hour doesn't match. So what you got to do is you'll look here and you'll see this is supposed to go in here, this end here. And you'll see that the weird shape of this. Well, that weird shape right here is to allow these digits with the extensions to pass. And all you got to do is carefully make sure that's not blocked. Carefully bend and then place it back in there, in that hole there. And that should work now as a holdback at the hour. And it works. So alarm is functioning, we know now. We've got, basically with this clock, we're missing a digit. And they don't use, with these Sunbeams, they don't use the cool font. So the Copal Cool font. So this is a Copal 701. And you can see the font. And the font is what they call Caslon. So same thing with the Caslon font. When you're doing the Copal 101, that was Sunbeam branded, they used a more plain font in those clocks. So the 703 almost for sure would have the cool digits. So I can't use an old 701, although it would almost for sure fit. I've got to find a clock that has these more blocky digits to fix that, and then decide what to do about the dead spot there, which is completely dead. Now the slip clutch here, we just got to see if it'll break loose. We don't want to get aggressive as he gets his needle nose pliers. Okay, there you go. You see it slipping? There, it's starting, you see? There it goes. That's what it's supposed to do. So we've got to try to get that loosened up a little more without being too gorilla on it. So that's it. We're going to see now if I can get that loosened up more so that this would work when that's working, you see. So I'm holding this still like the motor would be doing. Here's my time advance. Well, it was. There it goes. That's what it's supposed to do. So we've got to get some more oil in there. Get that loosened up. And then find us a digit. And then decide what to do. Either just don't worry about that. Look for a replacement. Or try to fix those couple of notches. Okay. Not sure if I'm going to get that done or not. But let's just find out. Well, where are we at here? This is turned into a real horror story, this one, because what I've got going on is this is a gear that advances the time, and as I talked about, what I believe was going on, the slip clutch got tight, someone over torqued it. Now if you hold this as if the motor was holding it, I'll explain that in a second. This moves. So there's our slip clutch. This is where Copal went to later. That's what I call ratcheting slip clutch. And that's part of the sound you'll hear with flip clocks. there's many sounds that come along with flip clocks, and that's one of them when you're setting the time. The older mechanisms, this uses this kind of slip clutch. They sound different. They're smoother. Most of the noise we're getting here, this is from a Panasonic. This is a new mechanism from a Panasonic 7469, but it's got the old style slip clutch there. I think I've got it going, and everything seemed to be going well. I got to advance this and show you what's going on here. That digit there is just a placeholder. That is actually from a Copal 201 from a parts clock I have that happens to be the same size. These digits are bigger, so they don't fit. For example, a Copal 227 digits don't fit these mechanisms. They're smaller. It's a shame because I've got a lot of those. So what's going on and this is where I almost threw up my hands. So with this, I believe I'm going to be able to fix it. So I used some steel stick, and I tried a different way. There's ways online that talk about how to cast your gear, your plastic gear. And before you comment it, go ahead and comment it, get it out of your way. Here's the comment. Why don't you just get 3D print a new gear? Well, it's the same reason why I don't just get my buddy Elon Musk to engineer a new gear that's made out of metal. Because I don't have a buddy named Elon Musk. Okay, so there we go. We got that out of the way. So what I did was I used steel stick, which I think is going to work. Well, hold on a second. I have to break in here to let you know that I had to redo this. It didn't work out with the steel stick. However, I did use the steel stick to make a mold. So I pressed the gear into the steel stick, the good teeth into that, then turned it around and used this stuff called plastic bonder because it flowed better into the gear teeth. And then after it dried, I was able to pull it out because I used some white grease as kind of a mold release. So it came right out, and you'll have to see in just a second if this gear actually works. But I thought everything was great. I'll get that done, and I'll go into my stock, and I'll find me a digit here at some point. But then I got to 9 p.m. here, and things aren't flipping right now, and this is the reason why. So you get to 9 p.m. here, and you get stuck. So what's happened here is this gear here has a dead spot in it. So that gear there, what it does is it takes the minutes movement, goes into this wheel, translates it to this wheel, which is your hours movement. So if I can get over this hump, it does fine. But there's a dead spot in the gear. So it is very fine-tooth gear. What are you going to do? Box this up, put it in a parts clock. Well, I'm just not going to give up. So what had happened was when I was working on that clock back there is a Copal 201 there. I dug out a parts clock, a Copal. I knew I had one, and unfortunately, so here's the frame of it. You can see it's got a slip clutch. You can see how easy that clutch is supposed to move. Again, when this gear is held tight by the motor, you should be able to still adjust the time, and then the motor can still move the whole bar. So this is the frame from a Copal 201. Now the reason I got this was it was years ago and it was cheap. It was broken glass, and there was a digit that had busted, which is where I got that holder digit. But when I was messing around with this clock, I found out it's got a different gears to translate the minutes to the hours. Different gear set than the one in the back there. That Twilight Zone Copal 201 there in the back. I thought, well, crap, it's older. So this is an older version of the 201. And it's amazing once you get into these flip clocks, all the different generations of flip clocks, you'll start seeing those differences as they developed and changed. Some of the changes aren't so good. They got a little cheaper on some of their components, but some are better. So anyway, so I started looking at the parts. Look at that A clip. It's like a flea. And then here's this gear and this gear. This is the hour translator, and it's got the little post that goes in there. So could it be that dead spot in there is on the same gear as this? And I think it is. And then this gear here, you can see there's that tiny flea clip. It's actually called an E clip, but so there we have. I'm going to probably go ahead and take this. And you may disagree. You may think, well, that 201's a better clock, a more valuable one. It is to me. But this ain't going nowhere. I can break back in here. So what's ahead for me? Well, when I can finally get down to the dungeon, I'm going to see if I can't chase down a digit that's going to replace that. But that can come. I don't have a 703 or a Sunbeam. So what I have to do is I have to remove some E-clips here. We'll pull all this off. We've got to do that anyway. We've got to get things back in gear. And then get this off. Replace those. Hopefully they're the same size. There you can see the dead spot. You see that right there? Oh, it'd be nice if you could just, if I could just put a little nub on there or something. It's just missing one tooth. I just don't think I'm going to be able to do that. So, we're going to get all that done. See if we can't get this back together for a while and get it working. So, you can ask yourself, is it worth all that? What else am I going to do? What I should be doing is cleaning up this mess. You should see it behind me. It's a nightmare. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do all this stuff. I would do it on camera. It gets to be too boring, I guess you could say. Not everybody's interested in how you would remove the clips, and then how to get things back on. And there are some. There you go. So there are some people interested in such things, but the general population is not going to sit and watch me do all that stuff. Oh wow! You see another difference in the style. Oh no, it's a ramp. They just painted it. Maybe that's some kind of lubricant or something. So things look very much the same here. And you can see what I'm doing. You should always do this on video, even if you're not going to share it with somebody, because you can see where things are, how they're supposed to be connected. That's got to come off one, and then you'll be able to reset it. You see this little doohickey there? That's a nice little feature. That's to prevent the clock from being turned the wrong way. You see? That's all that is. So I've got to get that off. As soon as I get that off, this bar comes out. And since we're halfway here, why not just show you that? These things want to get lost. So at this point, this bar should push out. There it goes. And then those digits will fall. we've got a little bitty flea clip there to get loose. And then we get to find out if my replacement parts fit in there. Then we've got to get everything back together. The challenge is getting the alarm, getting the digits lined up so they flip on 00, 0, not breaking this, getting the alarm to know what time it is, which is a function of this, and all that. It's tedious. So that's it. So I'm going to give you guys a break, and we're going to get back, hopefully in better shape. And if I can get down to the dungeon, maybe I'll have that digit. I don't know what other clock to get. Anyway, there we are. Where we're at right now is we've got the new components in place. And as you see, they work. So that's great. There's no more dead spot here. Well, another day. And we're out here just from a trip back to the dungeon. That's the basement where I keep all my flip clocks. And I figured I'm just going to have to get lucky on finding these digits. And as you see, the clock is together and it's flipping. We'll go into exactly how that's worked out. But I still have to find the digit that we're missing. So I just go in there and I start pulling out old parts clocks. And I find this Panasonic 6530 just randomly. And if you look, so if you compare the digits, you've got the AM on the top. You look at the font, it's the same. So we've got to get that digit out of here. This clock is not doing anything for me down in the dungeon. So I'll get that digit out of here. You can see the PM on the bottom, and that's going to be the same on the copal. So it's pretty clear. I think it was the top of the 25, bottom of the 26. So it's pretty clear that Panasonic got its mechanisms from copal, most likely. So to get this out, we bow it in the middle there. These are all intact. What happened there? It just popped out. It's in good shape. So, parts clock. Good job. Okay, so we're going to get that back and show you if this clock is working the way it's supposed to. You probably notice it's flipping. It's keeping time. We'll check it into it after we get that digit replaced. Oh. Why not? You can see the clock's working. So we'll get in there, replace that digit. And get this thing off my workbench. So there it is, the Sunbeam Digitime 2 Model DT2 flip clock. A clone of the Copal 703 with ties to a classic 1970s sci-fi horror movie. Well, thanks for taking the time.